Star Wars only, I don't know what the fuck your problem is.
EA does not understand Star Wars fans. I don't think they even understand Star Wars. And Jason Schreier has confirmed my speculations on this. If you don't know, Jason Schreier is a guy who recently reported on Kotaku.com that EA had shut down the open world Star Wars game that we all were anticipating that was being made by EA Vancouver. And if you recall, back in 2017, around October, EA had shut down Visceral Games, who was also working on the open-world Star Wars game, but they shut that down and moved it over to EA Vancouver, and that also got shut down again, which is just crazy. What does Jason Schreier talk about in this tweet storm that he put out the other day? So Jason talks about how there was a big dispute between Visceral Games and EA, the Electronic Arts company. Now, EA is the publisher of the games that is made by Visceral and Respawn and DICE, so these people make the games. EA publishes them. And apparently there had been some disconnection between Amy Hennig and the executives at EA, and if you don't know who Amy Hennig is, she is the one who was in charge of the Star Wars open world project when it was underneath Visceral Games. So here's what happened. According to a former employee who was working on the Visceral Games Star Wars project open world game that we wanted to see, he says that she was giving these massive presentations on the story theme, and the EA executives are like, FIFA, the Ultimate Team, makes $1 billion a year. Where's your version of that? So Amy Hennig comes up, she's making a Star Wars game, and she says, hey, here are our story ideas. And EA turns around and says, well, that's cool, but FIFA's making $1 billion over here. Where's your version of that? I want you to make that much money off this game. Which, I understand as a business, you're going to want to make that. But that quote right there alone shows me a lot of problems with EA, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And here's more arguments that have been going on between Visceral and EA. It's baffling how long this has been going on. It's been going on since 2014. Now, don't forget that EA shut down Visceral Games in 2017, late October 2017. So for 3 years, these people were having arguments with each other. The developers and the publishers were arguing over the Star Wars game. And here's what one of the arguments was, according to Jason Schreier. Argument one is what he puts is that how much Star Wars should there be? With Ragtag, the open world Star Wars game they were working on, Amy Hennig and the crew were planning on making a gritty game about scoundrels and criminals. They had Lucasfilm's blessing to tell a story about new characters, with no Sith or midichlorians or members of the Skywalker clan. But when EA executives thought of Star Wars, they thought of robed Jedi using powers of the Force, not mob families. Now, first of all, the Visceral Games idea for the Star Wars game to be an open world gritty about the mob family or whatever, that sounds amazing. And the fact that Lucasfilm gave their blessing on telling a new story, I really respect Lucasfilm for doing that, and I think that's a good credit to their name right now. But EA doesn't like it, apparently. So, two former Visceral staff recall EA looking at Ragtag, the open world Star Wars game, and asking where Chewbacca was. What? What? And so the employees said EA got obsessed with the market research and started asking people what's important to them about Star Wars. And a former staff member said that you would get answers like, oh, the Force, the lightsabers, the usual Jedi continuum. And he says that they're hyper-focused on that stuff, and it'd be a topic of conversation in every pitch meeting. So that, to me, shows that EA doesn't understand Star Wars fans. The proof is how they are approaching the Ragtag game, the open Star Wars game that was supposed to be coming out. They're approaching it with the idea of, we need to approach it like we approach FIFA, which is stupid, because EA is really popular when it comes to the sports games like Madden and FIFA. Those make them a lot of money, and a lot of that comes from microtransactions. So of course they're going to want to re-implement that into Star Wars games. However, the people who buy FIFA, the people who buy Madden, that is a completely different community than the Star Wars community. And you want to know why I know that? Is because I grew up with guys, and I have friends that play Madden and that play FIFA. They couldn't care less about Star Wars. And so it's a completely different category. It's the whole jocks versus the nerds kind of thing. Even though I think, Star Wars isn't only for nerds, and neither are these sports games. FIFA players, Madden players, they don't care about Star Wars. And Star Wars fans, most of the time, don't really care about FIFA or Madden either. They're two different people, they're two different communities, and that's completely fine. So if you're going to get the Star Wars license, you need to approach it like you would with a Star Wars fan base, and that normally is giving the fans what they want. Well, Jason goes on to talk about something that really shocks me, and that will shock you. It turns out that BioWare was actually trying to make a Knights of the Old Republic 3, and they were denied by EA. And this is the quote. Someone had tweeted to Jason, and he says, you know what Star Wars game had a good scoundrel pro tag? Kotor. Not sure if I'd want today's BioWare making a new Kotor, however, and he's, a lot of people think BioWare's gone downhill in terms of the quality of the content they produced. But Jason replies with this: they tried to make it happen more than once from what I've heard. No luck. You know what that means? That means the same thing that happened with Amy Hennig happened with BioWare. They pitched something to EA, and they said no. EA does not understand Star Wars fans, guys. You deny a KOTOR 3? I'm sorry, what? If BioWare is trying to make a KOTOR 3, that's the cream of the crop right now for Star Wars fans. That is something that we've all wanted for a very long time. The first Knights of the Republic was an instant classic. It was a brand new story, had an amazing twist at the end. The second one was also well received as well, not as well as the first one, but still, everyone wanted a third one. We all wanted a Knights of the Republic 3. BioWare wanted to make a Knights of the Republic 3. And EA said no. Why, EA? Why would you deny that? My question really is why, because that is something we as Star Wars fans want. We as Star Wars fans want new stories from the Star Wars universe. Yeah, the Jedi, the Sith, all that stuff's cool. All that stuff is what made Star Wars. How about you add something new? How about you create a new story? Because EA has had the license for Star Wars since 2013. It is now 2019 when I am making this video. And they've come out with 2 games that are unoriginal because they're both Battlefront games that have already come out before, and I don't think they're good additions to the Star Wars franchise. Honest to God, if Battlefront 1 and 2 by EA never came out, I wouldn't have noticed and nor would I have really cared. Could you honestly say you would have missed it if it didn't come out? I don't have that many fond memories of it because I don't think they're good games. We don't have any new stories from the Star Wars franchise from EA. And, you could say Battlefront 2 offered the Inferno Squadron story. Yeah, that was really cool. I got to play as a stormtrooper for a few minutes, and then I get to go right back to the fucking Rebels. Oh, yeah, original. It was a shitty game and a shitty story. And if you like that game, by all means, fine by you. But let's be honest, most people can agree that it was not a good game, and most people didn't like any of the Battlefront installments by EA. So you've had the license for damn near 6 to 7 years, and you've come out with 2 unoriginal games. The most original game we have right now is probably going to be Jedi Fallen Order coming out late 2019. I will admit, I'm excited for it. But you're denying me KOTOR 3. You're denying me the Visceral Games open world Star Wars game that sounded really cool. A mob-style, criminal, scoundrel game where you get to explore the open world. It sounds to me like it would have been a really cool game. It sounds to me it would have been really cool to be a scoundrel, to be a criminal, and go explore the Star Wars universe and do whatever you want. That sounds amazing. Now, it might not have been exactly that, and it may have been a little different. It may not have been a good game, but it would have been something new. New characters, new stories, something that Lucasfilm approved of, which I love. But EA said no to that. EA wanted something different. They gave it over to EA Vancouver, and then they canceled the game because they want something coming out sooner, I guess? Which is funny because, you're worrying about getting things out now because the contract's ending in 2023. You got 4 years left, and we only have 1 game planned. And that's coming out this year. So I really don't know what the hell's going on at EA. I don't understand how they want to make Star Wars games at all because you've canceled the game that we wanted, the open world Star Wars game. You ruined the first 2 games that came out, EA Battlefront and Battlefront 2. They probably could have been a little better if they had more time to develop and, you actually added some content in it from fucking time to time. But you didn't do that, EA. And then we want a Knights of the Republic 3. BioWare wanted to make a Knights of the Republic 3, and you said no, EA. You said no. Why would you say no to Knights of the Old Republic 3? I mean, that's a guaranteed hit right there. That's a guaranteed hit. But we're not going to get it. Because EA doesn't understand Star Wars fans. I try to give the benefit of the doubt. I don't think there's any credit I can give EA over the past, 6-7 years of them running Star Wars. Battlefront 1 and 2, like I said, are forgettable installments. I could care less if they ever happened at all. Jedi Fallen Order looks promising. I won't lie, it looks promising. However, it's 2019, the game is coming out late 2019, and we still don't know too much about it. Hopefully we get a little more information coming out later. But EA just doesn't seem to know what they're doing with the Star Wars franchise. And they sure as hell don't understand the Star Wars fans.